In August of last year, a fire broke out only a few minutes from my house in the foothills of Colorado. They named it the Quarry Fire, and it burned through 600 acres for the better part of a week. I went to the local reservoir and took pictures of these firefighting planes scooping water. These enormous planes, and the whole belly opens and they just suck up all this water. And it flew the short distance to the fire and it dumped that water all over the charred and smoking mountains. Witnessing that fight happening right there, so close to my house, was jarring and disturbing. It was incredible to watch these brave firefighters working for hours upon hours in an area disturbingly called Rattlesnake Gulch, and it was scary to think it could happen here, which I'm sure is how millions of people in California have been feeling over the past week. Maybe it's how you've been feeling too, seeing the devastating footage of burned homes. There are two main wildfires burning through LA right now, and as of filming this on January 16th, neither one is yet contained. The Palisades fire has burned nearly 24,000 acres, and the Eaton fire is at 14,000 acres. At least 25 people have died, and over 100,000 have been displaced. You've likely seen the aerial footage of before and after. It's pretty apocalyptic. And to think that this can happen in the nation's second most populous city with untold amounts of wealth and resources is horrifying. What we'll talk about in this video is how you, as a landlord, can prepare yourself, your tenants, and your property for the worst-case scenario of a fire knocking on your door. First of all, what actually is a wildfire? Well, it's an uncontrolled fire that burns in the wildland, often in rural areas. Wildfires require three things to start: heat, fuel, and oxygen. Causes include increased temperatures, lightning, utility lines, fireworks, arson, and vehicles. More than 95% of fires are human-ignited fires. Strong winds can pick up burning embers from the fire and carry them long distances, up to a mile or more. These embers can land on dry vegetation, igniting new fires known as spot fires. Wildfires can happen anywhere, but dry climates in the West are more susceptible. Fires are particularly prevalent in the summer and fall, and during droughts, when fallen branches, leaves, and other material can dry out and become highly flammable. Wildfires are also common in grasslands and scrublands. More than half of the nearly 75.3 million total acres burned in wildfires between 2011 and 2020 were in 5 states. Alaska and California had 15% and 14.6% of all acres burned, respectively. Oregon came in at 8.8%, Idaho 8%, and Texas 7%. So, how can landlords help prevent wildfires? First of all, identify if your rental property is in a high-risk zone for fire. You can check online wildfire risk maps provided by organizations like the U.S. Forest Service, First Street Foundation, or your local fire department. These maps usually color code areas based on their fire risk level, allowing you to search by address to see your property's status. Key factors considered include vegetation, topography, and local weather patterns that could contribute to wildfire risk. You may have also noticed that Zillow recently added climate risk data to their listings using data from First Street. That data shows the risk of flooding, fire, wind, air quality, and heat. When you're shopping for a new property, data like this could point out any potential issues. You can also help create defensible space around your rental properties, which is the area between a home and a wildfire where vegetation has been modified to reduce the risk of fire and to help firefighters. You can remove dry vegetation, dead plants, and combustible debris. Space out trees and shrubs to reduce fire spread. Use gravel, concrete, or fire-resistant materials near structures. So, other upgrades to consider. You can install fire-resistant roofing materials like metal or tile. You can use fireproof siding like fiber cement or stucco. You can replace your single-pane windows with dual-pane tempered glass. Some other cost-effective solutions for smaller budgets are fire retardant sprays for wood decks or fences, and weather stripping to seal windows and doors. Other financial considerations. Landlord insurance is a great idea, and it does cover fire damage. You can get insured from our friends at Steadily, or do some research into other providers. There are tons of costs and potential savings from proactive fireproofing, and it's a good idea to check out your local grants or state tax incentives for any fire prevention upgrades. It's also really important to review and update your landlord insurance policy to make sure that it is covering wildfire risks. If your insurance options seem unclear, it's a good idea to talk with your neighbors about what steps they're taking to insure their properties. There used to be a generally agreed upon wildfire season, being the highest and driest part of the summer, But as with most climate-related things, that has shifted recently. These fires raging through LA in January are an unfortunate reminder that fires can now happen any time of the year, and it's important to be prepared. In the event of a wildfire near you, having access to real-time alerts can make a huge difference. There are some apps that you can get, like Ready for Wildfire or Pulse Point. Watch Duty is another great app that gives live updates about fires so you can monitor them as they're happening. This is the one I watched religiously when the Quarry Fire was raging near me last year, and Watch Duty compiled all the latest news in real time to give me every update as soon as it was available. Also, of course, tune into your local emergency services and news outlets. So, with your tenants, make sure that you set up an emergency communication plan with them. Wildfires can happen fast and can be extremely unpredictable. You don't want to terrify your tenants by telling them it's likely, it's coming, they need to be ready, but it is good for them to be realistic and prepared in the case of an emergency. Communicate with them in the event of a fire breaking out in their area and make sure they have evacuation routes, emergency kits, and renter's insurance. It's also a great idea to provide fire extinguishers and ensure that all of your smoke alarms actively work and that you're testing them regularly. We hope the fires in LA are contained soon, and if you're in the area, please stay safe. If you'd like to donate to those affected, we'll include a link down below to a few of those charitable resources. If you have any other tips for keeping your tenants and your rental property safe in the terrible event of a wildfire, please leave them down below, and we'll see you next time.